We're going.
Oh, hello.
Yes.
So I'm Trey. I'm here shooting some HDR outside. My good friend Curtis Simmons is holding the camera. Hello, Curtis. You can say hi too.
Hello.
So I'm shooting HDRs, landscapes, with two cameras, my NEX-7 and my D800. I'll tell you how I'm using my NEX-7 today for the HDR shots. I still use both cameras quite a bit. I could do everything with the NEX-7 if I wanted to. The reason still that I use the D800 for sort of my epic landscape shots is that it is 36 megapixels as opposed to 24 megapixels. And I have a lot more lenses for this Nikon, like the 14 to 24 lens, which I really love. Plus there's many other lenses that I have access to. But I do see myself in the future more moving to this kind of mirrorless system. Not necessarily Sony, although I do love this Sony system, and I've really been playing with it a lot. Tonight we're going to pretend like I don't have my D800 and I just have this. And you can do incredible landscape work with this, whether or not you're shooting HDR. I'll show you how I do HDR with this. There's two different ways, okay? I'm not going to talk about the built-in HDR way. You can experiment with that. I don't really like it. Sometimes it looks okay. But I prefer to take all the photos myself using the camera, like in RAW mode, and then take them and use post-processing tools. I have a free HDR tutorial on my website that talks about how I do this. But I'll show you how I set it up right now after this car violently passes us. Okay, I'll talk about the setup for this camera. We're going to do one set of HDRs now, and then another after it gets dusky and night falls, because it's a slightly different situation for taking your HDR photos then. As for this camera, this is currently got a 16 millimeter prime lens on here, pancake, 2.8. Since this is a crop sensor, that means that you can take any lens and multiply it by 1.5. So in this case, 16 times 1.5 is 24. That makes it effectively a 24 millimeter lens. It's a little nerdy, but that's how it works. Anyway, 24 means it's nice and wide, okay? Whoa, I just tripped over my D800. Okay, so the default mode for this NEX-7, which is actually a very fine mode for almost any situation, and that's why I carry this around, by the way, for portraits, for people shots, for objects, for things, for just quick shots. This is fantastic, and I actually leave it. I'm not ashamed to say that I leave it in intelligent auto most of the time, even though I could go into aperture priority or manual mode and do all these settings myself. It's incredibly smart. It usually chooses the right things in intelligent auto, but you can't leave it in intelligent auto if you want to do HDR. Okay, so come get close, and I'll show you how we set it up. Here we go. I'm going to go into mode, right? And then you get this wheel spinny thingy, okay? And this little green friendly intelligent auto mode is usually what it's in. If you want to shoot HDR, I recommend you go up here into the A mode, okay, for aperture priority, and you click in, all right? Then when you tap to the left, again, I don't know which Japanese masochist built this menu system. I'm just showing you how to navigate it. You get all these different options, okay? And one of them is this one. It's auto bracketing. You'll notice it says 0.7 EV. That means it goes from minus 0.7 to plus 0.7. Why 0.7? I don't know. I wish it did minus 2 to plus 2. That's really ideal. However, 0.7 is okay, all right? And then when you get ready to shoot, I just hold it down, all right? It'll take all three very fast. Listen. There you go. So it just made 3 raw files, okay? So that's probably just fine if you're going for a sort of a basic HDR. You should get almost all the range that you need with those 3 shots, unless the conditions are much different. Now when night falls, I'll show you how to do a much more extended dynamic range from -2 to +2. And if you like, you can reuse that trick for these kind of situations as well.
recording, Andre. Say something.
But we don't want to miss the sunset. You're gonna have to stop there. Come around this side. Okay, now we're continuing our quest to take a good HDR photo with the NEX-7. Things change a little bit at night because if you leave it in that sort of auto bracketing mode with auto ISO, it'll really amp up the ISO and you're gonna have a lot of noise in your photo, which you don't want. Okay, so here's how you get around that, and here's also how you get around that 0.7 limitation, okay? So, and this is a little bit quirky thing with this camera. I actually figured this out by accident. So, come around here, Curtis, I'll show you. What happens here is if we're in aperture priority mode, okay, and let's say that we go ahead and we set our ISO to 100, what'll happen is if I take a photo, okay, it's taking it right now. There, that's one photo, then the next, and then the third. You would expect all those to be different exposures, right? But what happens when you press play, they're all actually the exact same exposure. They're all 2.5 seconds, you know, so WTF. If you really want auto bracketing to work, you have to hold down the shutter button, which I think is ridiculous, because even on a tripod, you're still going to get a little bit of shake, okay? So that's no good. That's no good. So what we want to do instead is this. Let's just go ahead and take it out. We'll leave it in aperture priority mode. We'll take it out of the auto bracketing, just to single, okay? And now we want to make sure that we're in 100 ISO, keep the ISO as low as possible. And one of these dials up here will adjust the exposure, okay? So we'll go ahead and take 1 at 0. Here we go. Okay, and then we're going to, when it does this, it's doing some noise reduction, okay? Now I'm going to take this right dial and move it. This is the exposure. It's kind of cool with the EVF how it shows live what it's going to look like. Anyway, we'll go to -2, and I'll do another shot. This should be quick. Okay, good. And now we're going to do one more exposure. This one will be up at +2. Okay. Obviously it's staying open for a very long time to get all that light. And it should be done any time now. And it's going to take even longer to do noise reduction, okay? But that's basically what you want to do. At nighttime, take it out of that auto bracketing and manually force it to -2 and +2. I think it's really easy with this camera. It's even easier than most of the DSLRs. You just move this little slider around. And if you want to get even more dynamic range during the day, just use that same trick. All right, hope that helps. Subscribe to our channel. Ask me all the questions you want, and I'll do my best to get to them. All right, thanks, and see you next time.